Welcome to the second episode of the Saline Post Show. We have a few different topics to cover today and some special guests, so let's get started.
All right, one of the big stories this week in Saline is new parking rules in downtown Saline. And I'm going to need to reference my notes here because it's not that easy to remember these things. But
yeah, and this has been a topic that's come up several times at several city council meetings.
Yeah, they've probably talked about this 6 times in the last year, and I think one of the ideas they want to do is, I think some business owners complain that there are people who park all day in these parking lots that are meant for shoppers and for people who eat at restaurants. So they have 3-hour limits in some of these parking lots, but they haven't enforced these rules. So they're trying to change that, and they propose new rules, and I think they're going to be passed at Monday night city council meeting. They discussed them at the last meeting, and there didn't seem to be any apprehension about them. And one of the rules is that there's going to be behind Dan's, behind Mac's, and behind Benny's, the parking limit is going to be increased from 3 to 4 hours. But because they never enforced the old limits, it was like there wasn't any limits. Yeah. So really, the Saline Police is going to be walking around checking to see if people are overstaying their time. And people could be getting a $10 ticket, which is going to be something new for Saline. And hopefully it prevents people from spending all their time in the parking lots. One of the other limits is, there's going to be 24-hour parking limits on the parking lot on Henry Street near the water tower, and also on the one off of McKay Street behind Key Bank. And people can buy parking permits that will allow them to have park for more than 24 hours. The parking limits are available at the city office from the city clerk or the Saline Police Department, and they're available for $30 a week or $45 for 2 weeks.
Now, I know one of the topics of discussion was changing signage up and getting information out so that people knew about some of the outlying parking lots. Do you know if they've gone forward with that at all?
There are going to be new signs that I guess are more universal, that direct people to the parking lots, especially to the outer limits that have where people can park for longer periods of time. I guess that's been one of the complaints, is people say they don't know where they can park. I'm not sure how true that is. Personally, I haven't had too much of a problem parking in Saline, but I know it's a perception out there.
Now, the second topic we're going to talk about, unfortunately, there's been some news in the crime area with Saline. Yeah,
it's just a reminder. These things does happen from time to time, but I think there were 11 thefts from vehicles in the city of Saline within a 4-day period. And so Saline Police Sergeant Basso is reminding people, lock your doors, but even more importantly, if there's something that you want to keep, don't keep it in your car. What he did say was that in each of these instances, there was no damage to property, so nobody was smashing the windows or anything like that. They were just looking for open doors, and when they found them, they'd go in and take stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's part of living in a safe community, is sometimes people get a little bit lax, and you got to remember to lock it up.
Right, and then the other, you can watch the video here. A woman on Halloween night, and we FOIA'd this video from Saline Police Department. A woman was walking to the Saline Market, or getting out of her car and going to the Saline Market, and as she was walking up to the store, another car pulled up and nearly ran her down. I mean, if it wasn't for the parking block that slowed the car down, she might have been crushed into that wall. As it was, she suffered some minor injuries, but she's okay, and Saline Police were able to track the driver down. As you can see from the video, he took off and sped away, didn't check to see how the woman was, and Saline Police were able to track down the driver. Officer Ringe did some good police work, and the driver may face drunk driving charges as well as hit and run charges. So thankfully the woman's okay though.
So Hopping into some more positive news, at least. At the last school board meeting, Liberty Club did a presentation for an award they had received. So,
Yeah, the Michigan Association of Community and Adult Education presented the Trailblazer Award to Liberty Club. Brian Puffer, Director of Community Education, was there, and Jackie Macy and Linda Smith collected the award. They founded Liberty Club 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, because at the time there was nothing for adults with disabilities. At 26, school districts are required to provide programming for people with disabilities until the age of 26. And after that, there was nothing. So they started the Liberty Club, which provides job training, it provides social interaction, it provides a place to go, really, for these young adults, and keeps them active in the community. It's for adults from 27 to 46 years old, and it's grown from seven students in 2011 to 26 today. So I think that shows it's been well received.
yeah, it really is amazing to see. And if viewers want to watch the whole clip of Puffer and the women being awarded the award, here it is right now.
Back in September, Liberty Club was selected as the first ever Trailblazer Award winner at the, like Scott said, the Michigan Association of Community and Adult Education Conference. They usually have 4 categories, and once they received our submission, they looked at it and very impressed with it. They told us they decided to create a category for the future called the Trailblazer Award, and obviously Liberty Club was the first one to win the award. So we were very proud of that. Just to give you a quick history, very quick history. In the summer of 2010, Kevin Musson, Linda Smith, Jackie Macy came to me, and I remember meeting at the Union School Board room talking about this program they wanted to run through community ed. They explained how they have sons that will be turning 27, will no longer receive educational services through the district. And I said, that's great, who's gonna run this? Right here. So on January 3rd, 2011, Liberty Club opened their doors. We started with 7 adults, and we are proud to say we currently have 26 adults in the program here at Liberty School, ranging in ages from 27 to 46. I just want to take this chance to recognize both Jackie and Linda. They've done so much work with the program. If you've had any chance to be down there and see what they do, they've started in a small little classroom that I can't believe you guys are actually ever in, and now expanded behind that, and the program is just booming. So I would just like to thank you guys personally, and I would congratulate you on your 2014 Trailblazer Award.
So our first special guest today is Fire Chief Heft, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about the Toys for Tots campaign and how that can benefit Saline area social services. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Chase. No problem. Yes, this is probably our 7th or 8th year doing the Toys for Tots program. And of course, in Saline, you usually don't think of kids that aren't going to have a Christmas. And there are a lot of them here in our community. There's probably over 150 kids that are going to need gifts, and I think it's our responsibility, all of us, to take care of them. And so if you can go to any of the schools, drop off an unwrapped gift for a kid anywhere from 2 to 12. And if you can't get it to there, you can go to the station. And in fact, coming up the day of the parade, I think, which is December 6th,
Yep.
they are having an event at the Oaks Plaza.
They're going to stuff a bus full of
Yeah, they're going to
toys?
have a bus there to fill it full of toys. A lot of the businesses are doing special things. Bubba from W4 is going to be there for a few hours. Also, I think they got this big 8-foot teddy bear that they're going to raffle. If you bring a gift, you get your name put into that to win that. So that's kind of cool. But it's very important that we take care of our kids. So if you get a chance to help us out, we'd appreciate it. And if you can't help Toys for Tots, you can certainly help one of the local churches, feed a family, do whatever you can.
Yeah. These toys go to Saline kids first, right? Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's how we do it. We do work with the Washtenaw County Toys for Tots program, but they know that we have our own special little gig first. We make sure our kids get enough gifts, and then we go ahead and send everything to Washtenaw County, which I believe they're headquartered in Ypsilanti. They take care of that. So, and they like our program because we do come up with a lot more than just what we need for our kids. So it's a great deal.
When should people have their toys to in one of the boxes or to the Saline Area Fire Department?
Yeah, that's a good question, Tran. That's why you're a reporter. They should. The 14th is when we're going to wrap and try to get our gifts, December 14th, to social services. It gives them a little more time to weed them out and get them where they need to be. But we will take them up till Christmas, and we'll make sure that Washtenaw County Toys for Tots gets them.
All right. Is there a? I know in the past you've said that if you think about it, you could really use toys for certain age groups.
Yep, another good point. You are good at this, Tran. You're not just another guy in a sweater.
Yeah,
well,
there
that's
we go.
a shirt today.
I'm not just a pretty face, right?
Yes. What was the question again?
Is there a certain age group that you could really use?
Yes.
Yeah.
It seems like what's happened is the kids, have obviously grown up over the years, and that probably 8 to 10, 11 age is where we need, and we end up with a lot of, not that there's anything wrong with it, Candyland games and those kind of things, which are good for the 4, 5, and 6, but we need something, if they can get into the Legos or that kind of thing for the older kids, it'd be great.
All right. Cool.
Great. Well, thanks for coming in, Chief.
I'm glad you had me. I appreciate. I'm sure that thousands of people are going to look at this, and that'll reach out there, and we'll get some extra help this year.
Tens of
Appreciate it.
thousands.
Yeah. Okay.
Our next guest is Al Bates, who is the premier Saline Sports Authority, and he and Tran are going to discuss some of the big sports news from the week. So thanks for being here as well.
Yeah, good for having me.
The big story this week, Al, was obviously the football game. Saline won 42-35 in the regional final against Canton. Tell us why that was such a big win historically for the program.
Well, historically, obviously, it's Saline's first trip to the Final Four. It's their third attempt to get there. We lost to Canton, ironically, in 2006, and then in 2012 we lost to Cass Tech, which is our next opponent in regional championships. The only 2 times that we have been there. And so to reach the Final Four is a pretty big thing.
All right, Saline was down 21-7. It seemed like nothing was going right for the Hornets at that point. What are you thinking?
Well, before the game, I'd watched a lot of huddle. I'd watched a lot of stuff, and I thought we could negate their running game a little bit. And in the beginning, we really weren't able to stop them at all, and it became an issue. And once they stopped us once, you always had that problem. You got to get that series back somehow.
Yeah.
And we ended up going down, scoring, making it 21-14, and
They made it 28-14.
they scored right away, made it 28-14, and we turned around, scored again, 28-21, and then I think Joe Palka probably made the call of the game at that point. Less than 2 minutes to go in the game, in the first half, and he calls the onside kick.
Yeah, Stephen Slattery picked that one up. And I guess they were expecting it over in Canton. They knew it was going to come. They didn't know when, but they knew it was going to come. And Joe Palka knew he was going to call it at some point in the game, and that's when he did it. That was a pretty gutsy call, though, at that point, wouldn't you say?
Well, it was extremely gutsy, because if it goes wrong, then obviously you're giving the ball at midfield. But the way I looked at it when he did it, and it has been in our arsenal. We've used it a couple other times this year. Canton's smart enough; they've scouted. They do know that. And the key to me was that whether you give it to them at the 50 or at the 35, we weren't stopping them. Mm-hmm. So if we turned the ball over to them at the 50 on an onside kick, all we had to do was stop them for 2 minutes. We still got the ball back to start the second half, even if we're down 28-21. We could take that in for the score. But as it turned out, got the onside kick, scored a touchdown, took the lead, tied the game, and then took the lead in the third quarter, which was really big.
Yeah, and the defense, you mentioned it all year, the bend, don't break philosophy, and they gave up some yards in the third and fourth quarter, but they only gave up 7 points against a team, that Canton team, that looked unstoppable in the first half. I'm always amazed by the adjustments this team seems to be able to make, whether it's the coaching or the players just figuring this out. What do you think of the way the defense played in this segment?
Well, it was actually very, very easy to see, because in the first quarter alone we gave up 183 yards rushing. And then they just decided at halftime that there was a couple of things that they could do, or maybe they just learned what their assignments were. Maybe looking at a little video at halftime or whatever. The other thing that, the thing that bothered me is I read a couple of news reports that said, the defense didn't come to play, and they really criticized the defense. And I was a little bit bothered by that because the defense won the game.
Yeah.
Whether you want to think that or not, 42 points. You gave up 35 points, but like you said, 7 in the second half when it really mattered. A stop at the 5-yard line.
Yeah. Chris Terek.
By Chris Terek. Another stop on 4th down as they're going in to basically end the game.
Yeah.
Also by Chris Terek, and with some help from Sean O'Keefe on that one. But it was 2 big stops by the defense that created what happened. And then at the end of the game, we did have to punt to him with 7 seconds to go, and nothing worked for him. Slattery got the final tackle of the game. So the defense was on the field at the end, right where they needed to be.
Okay, so let's talk about our Hornet of the Week this week, Josh Jackson, quarterback, junior. Chris Terek had a great game defensively. I think he had 21 tackles, didn't it?
Yep, he had 21 tackles, tied the team record for tackles in the game.
And then Josh Jackson throws for 4 touchdowns, runs for 2. What do you think of the job he did for Saline? He looked unstoppable out there. Every time he had the ball in his hands, he did well.
Well, the thing that I saw with Josh Jackson is, he came into his own. We've had the situation of the alternating quarterbacks all year, which has been interesting. This week it was Josh's turn, and he turned in 6 touchdown performance. It's a career day. He ran for 2. He ran for almost 100 yards. He ran for 90 yards, and he threw for the 3rd most yards in Saline history, 345 yards, while completing the most passes ever, 27 passes, eclipsing a record of 21. So it was a big difference between what he did. And that the passing game just came out, and I don't think Canton knew we were going to pass, but they just didn't have anything to stop it.
Now, I'll wade into this. This has kind of been a little bit controversial, I think. Nobody's really questioned it, but from the beginning of the year, and I know you're about the biggest Trent Tyson fan in the world there is, and I like Trent from baseball, and he was tremendous last year as a junior, and I was like, how could they possibly not have Trent be the quarterback outright this year? And him and Josh split time all year, and I just couldn't understand why he would do it. But Joe Polka's the coach, and he's got 30 wins in 3 years. So who am I to question? But it certainly paid dividends, I think, for him last Friday, wouldn't you say?
Well, it actually did. And as far as being a Trent, I've been coaching with Scott Tyson since before Trent was even born. So I've known Trent his whole life, and I coach him in baseball. I watch him in football, and and he had a really great junior year. But you had Josh show up, and you have 2 quarterbacks. Joe had to try to figure out what to do to be able to to make that work. Doing quarterbacks that way is kind of tough, but Saline has made it work. And you can look back at different games. You look at the Monroe game. When Trent came in, he was the hot hand. He's the one that got it, and he led us to that victory in the first Monroe game. They both have worked well together, and what I've seen from talking to them is that they both respect each other, which is really the great thing. They're not trying to take each other's job. They're trying to make it work. We can have this 2 quarterback system, and it's going to really giving Josh as much playing time as he's got this year is obviously going to give him a pretty good shot at having a pretty good senior season too. So it's worked out. It took some transition, but it's worked. And like Joe says, every time I talk to Joe, it's just everybody gets a series, and then the hot hand gets to play a little bit more.
Think we'll see that again at Cass Tech?
I gotta believe that both of them will get a series to start the game. I don't think Joe's going to change from that, and then he'll decide then who's going to finish the game.
Josh Jackson today. That looked like a kid determined to take this game.
Yeah, Josh just continued to make play after play, and what impressed me the most is he took shots a lot of times when he made some of those passes, and he was really unflappable. I guess the heat of the moment and the pressure situation of the game really never got to him. He just kind of looked at it like play after play, regardless of down and distance, I'm going to make a play.
And he was able to use some receivers more than he's used all year. Cole Mercer got to show what they were able to contribute.
I thought it was a coming out party for a lot of guys tonight, and at the right time. We were able to distribute the ball all around, and I thought that Cam and Chris, made a lot of great plays, and that made everybody really tougher to defend. We were able to get the ball to all our receivers, which I think, had a lot to do with us scoring so many points.
I think Al's mentioned a lot the bend but don't break. 4th down at your 5-yard line. Just a little bit about your defensive toughness and determination.
Well, if they punch it in there, it's probably a different result. So even though that they got the ball back and we weren't able to do much with it, that's just a critical stop. And then obviously, the stop at the end of the game. One of the things is that we kept preaching, just keep playing because they're going to run out of time. Just keep making them earn everything. And I thought in the second half that's what we did better than the first half, besides the big pass play, is we made them earn everything on the trap.
Just the legacy of this. How proud you are of this team.
I said a week ago this team's far surpassed my expectations, but now it's kind of crazy. This team may not. We may keep going, may do some special things, but obviously 11 straight wins, the first regional title. I think that's enough said about that. Just an unbelievable group of kids.
All right, so let's switch over to the college signings. Let's just run through some of the high school seniors who signed this year. In baseball, who do we have?
In baseball, we had Trent Tyson signed with Ball State. Josh Smith, left-handed pitcher, he's going to play at Kentucky. Brendan Naring is going to be pitching at Cincinnati. And then Ricky Karcher is signed with the University of Michigan.
And a lot of people don't know who Ricky Karcher is yet because he hasn't pitched yet for Saline, but he's coming in this spring to pitch. How about volleyball?
Volleyball, we have Izzy Parada. She's going to Western Illinois. And Kara Rogers is going to play volleyball at Cornell.
Now, we also had someone signed player signed from softball, right, this week?
We have 2 players that signed for softball. Alyssa Herron's going to play at Southern Illinois, Edwardsville. And Katie Alexander is going to play right up the street at the University of Michigan.
And we don't have a girls hockey program here in Saline, but we do have a hockey player who signed.
Yeah, Brooke Baker signed with the Rochester Institute of Technology. And I was actually looking at their roster today. It's probably a pretty big deal that she signed there. They have a 23-lady roster right now, and only 4 of them are from the United States. The rest of them are from your home country of Canada. So to get an American on that squad, to me, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
and for Brooke Baker.
The last athlete who I think is just the last one we're going to talk about,
yes,
signed for rowing, and that is
Jamie Rittenhouse. Probably the weirdest story of them all. Jamie has played 4 years of varsity basketball between Arbor Prep and then coming here for her last 2 years, and she also made the varsity volleyball team this year, and started at the end of the season, and she's planning on going out for softball. But she got a phone call from Mike Bailey over at Eastern and said that they wanted to look at her for rowing. And she met with him, saw the place, watched a practice of theirs, and talked to him for about a week. And then they offered her deal to come there. So she committed to go there and row. She's never touched a boat. She's never touched an oar, but she's go there row crew for them.
Well, good for her. And the other big story in sports, and really there aren't too many stories left in the fall season, is girls diving. This state meet is Friday and Saturday at Eastern University, Michigan, at the same time, unfortunately, as the football game on Saturday. But the girls sent 4 divers to the regional, and Cam McPherson was regional champion. Amy Stevens was 3rd, Miranda Eberly was 4th, and I think Emmy Ruella was 4th, and she's going to the States for the first time. And that's important because 4 divers, that's like if you can get those 4 divers diving the way they did the other day, that's like winning a relay event at the state meet, and that's worth a lot of points. Could help them maybe have a chance to win another state championship.
Well, if you can get 4 divers, that's almost, and the way I look at the swim meet sometimes, that's like free points almost, because if you can get your divers in there, and Saline has actually been very good about that. Like Amy Stevens is the reigning state champ, and McPherson has actually beaten her in the last 2 meets that they've had. So it's really going to be quite a battle up there. And if Amy comes back and has a big day and Cam's right there, they could easily finish 1-2. and along with the others finishing and scoring some points too, it's really going to add to the efforts that Saline's going to have at this state meet.
And so to finish up the show, we were gonna throw a little word out there for Schools of Rock. I don't know how much it needs it, but just in case people didn't know, it's one of the biggest events of the year.
It is probably the hottest ticket of the year in Saline for anything. I can't think of anything else that sells out that auditorium and that quickly. Tickets go on sale at 10 a.m. Friday online at the Saline Schools website, and I think they could be gone within 2 or 3 hours. So.
Yep, and it will be at the high school auditorium this year, not part of the craft show, so it's going to be its own entity and should be quite the show.
And it's always interesting to see who's going to win. For 2 years in a row, I think it was Saline Middle School, David Raft and his crew won, and last year Heritage won it, and so it's always interesting to see who's going to win that. And I'm guessing that Saline Middle School is going to come on strong, looking for one here this year.
Yeah, and SCTN will be providing a live stream of the show, so be sure to check that out. We'll get some information out, and then the video will be online later that night after the show. So.
All right, and this is the video of last year's winners from Heritage Elementary School.